Have you ever looked up at a full moon and felt a shiver run down your spine? A primal fear that something ancient and wild is watching from the shadows. For centuries, humanity has been captivated and terrified by the legend of the werewolf, creature trapped between human and beast, cursed to transform under the silvery light of the full moon. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of this enduring myth. We'll trace its origins from ancient folklore to modern cinema, explore the chilling historical accounts of werewolf trials, and even investigate the real-world conditions that might explain these terrifying transformations. What is it about the werewolf that continues to fascinate us? Is it just a scary story told around a campfire, or is there something more to this legend? Get ready, because tonight we're hunting for the beast. The story of the werewolf is as old as civilization itself. While we often think of it as a medieval European legend, the concept of a man transforming into a wolf appears in some of our earliest recorded stories. One of the most famous ancient tales comes from Ovid's Metamorphoses, which tells the story of King Lycaon of Arcadia. This story gives us the term lycanthropy, from the Greek words lykos for wolf and anthropos for man. But the Greeks weren't alone. Norse sagas speak of the Elefachnar, fierce warriors who wore wolf pelts and were said to channel the spirit of the wolf in battle, becoming unstoppable berserkers. These early tales weren't just about horror. They were often cautionary tales about hubris, divinity, and the untamed, animalistic nature that lurks within humanity. The wolf, a powerful and feared predator, became the perfect symbol for this dark inner self. As Europe moved into the Middle Ages, the werewolf myth took a much darker turn. The rise of Christianity and the widespread fear of witchcraft and demonic forces reshaped the legend. The werewolf was no longer just a cursed individual or a fierce warrior. It was now seen as a servant of the devil. People believed that a person could become a werewolf through a pact with Satan, often sealed by rubbing a magic salve on their skin or wearing an enchanted wolf pelt belt. This tied lycanthropy directly to the witch hunts that swept across the continent. From the 15th to the 17th centuries, thousands of people were accused, tortured, and executed for witchcraft, and among them were many accused of being werewolves. One of the most infamous cases is that of Peter Stumpp, the Werewolf of Bedburg, in 1589. This German farmer confessed under torture to practicing black magic for over 25 years. He claimed the devil had given him a magic girdle that allowed him to transform into the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf. He confessed to horrific crimes, and his execution was brutal, designed as a terrifying warning to others. These trials blurred the line between myth and reality, cementing the werewolf as a real and present danger in the public imagination. So, were these people actually transforming into wolves? While the idea is thrilling, modern science and historical analysis offer some more grounded explanations. One compelling theory is the misidentification of real-world wolf attacks. In a time when wolves were common and often posed a threat to livestock and isolated communities, it is easy to see how a particularly gruesome attack could be attributed to a supernatural beast rather than an ordinary animal. Another fascinating explanation lies in medical conditions. For example, a rare genetic disorder called hypertrichosis, sometimes known as werewolf syndrome, causes excessive hair growth all over a person's body. Imagine living in a superstitious medieval village and seeing someone with this condition. It wouldn't be a huge leap for people to believe they were part beast. Psychological conditions also likely played a role. Clinical lycanthropy is a rare psychiatric syndrome where a person has a delusion that they can, or have, transformed into an animal. When we look back at the confessions from the werewolf trials, which were often extracted under extreme duress and torture, it's highly probable that mental illness, combined with intense societal fear, led people to believe and confess truth are impossible. Another interesting culprit could be a fungus called ergot. Ergot grows on rye and other grains, and if accidentally consumed, it can cause a condition called ergotism. Symptoms include convulsions, muscle spasms, hallucinations, and severe psychosis. A whole village eating contaminated bread could experience mass hallucinations, seeing their neighbors or even themselves as monstrous beasts. This theory has also been used to explain some of the bizarre events of the Salem witch trials. It shows how a natural phenomenon could create a perfect storm of fear and superstition, giving proof to the existence of werewolves. Then there's rabies, a viral disease that can be transmitted from animals, including wolves, to humans. The late stages of rabies can cause agitation, aggression, confusion, and fear of water, or hydrophobia. An infected person might act erratically, foaming at the mouth and lashing out violently, a terrifying sight that could easily be interpreted as a monstrous transformation. When you combine these medical, psychological, and environmental factors, you begin to see how the legend of the werewolf wasn't just pulled from thin air. It was built upon a foundation of real-world fears and misunderstood phenomena. From the courtroom to the cinema, the werewolf has undergone another incredible transformation. The 20th century saw the beast leap from folklore onto the silver screen, and its portrayal changed forever. The 1941 classic, The Wolfman, starring Lon Chaney Jr., defined the modern werewolf for generations. It introduced many of the elements we now consider standard, the transformation being an inheritable curse, the vulnerability to silver, and the tragedy of a good man, Larry Talbot, who becomes a monster against his will. This film shifted the focus from a willing servant of evil to a tragic, sympathetic figure. The werewolf was no longer just a monster to be feared, but a victim to be pitied. This theme of the tragic hero has been explored countless times since, in films like An American Werewolf in London, which masterfully blended horror with dark comedy, and the Underworld series, which reimagined werewolves, now called lycans, as a warrior race in an eternal war with vampires. The Harry Potter series gave us Professor Lupin, a kind and noble character who struggles with his furry little problem, further humanizing the monster. And in Twilight, werewolves became shape-shifting protectors, loyal and hot-blooded tribal warriors. Each of these portrayals taps into a different aspect of the myth. The werewolf represents our fear of the loss of control, the idea that a civilized person can be suddenly overwhelmed by primal rage. It's the beast within, the idea that society forces us to suppress. The full moon acts as a trigger, a cosmic force that strips away our humanity and leaves only instinct. The physical transformation itself is a powerful metaphor for puberty, illness, or any radical change that makes us feel alienated from our own bodies, and the vulnerability to silver. Silver has long been associated with purity and the moon, making it the perfect symbolic weapon against a creature of the night. Whether it's a terrifying monster, a tragic anti-hero, or a romantic protector, the werewolf reflects our own anxieties about identity, control, and the duality of human nature. From ancient cautionary tales of divine punishment to the horrific witch trials of medieval Europe, and from the tragic monsters of classic cinema to the heroic figures of modern fantasy, the werewolf has been a constant companion in our collective nightmare. It's a myth that has adapted and evolved, but at its core, it remains a powerful symbol of the wildness that exists just beneath the surface of civilization and, within each of us, the werewolf forces us to ask unsettling questions. What separates us from the animals? How much control do we really have over our darkest impulses? And what happens when that control is lost? The hunt for the beast, it turns out, is really a hunt for ourselves. But because we know that the monster, the anger, the rage, the primal instinct is a part of the human experience, and as long as there's a full moon in the sky, we'll continue to tell its story. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey into the heart of the werewolf legend. What's your favorite werewolf movie or story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into mythology and folklore, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more adventures into the unknown. We'll see you next time.